Welcome to MeasureTheMatrix.com. Today's focus is MensRights and the MGTOW, MGTOW space on YouTube. And we're going to play a short video here to be an introduction.
Narcissist and borderline, buzzwords
and phrases.
Jealous, unable to commit, unable to express or give and receive love, personality disordered, mentally ill, mentally ill.
mentally ill.
Mentally ill.
Yep.
Yep.
But here's the problem. We didn't see the universal celebrations after the men won. But they took the pendulum that was too far one side and swung it all the way to the other, and they've never come back from that.
I want to know if you've ever left therapy feeling like something was off, but because when emotional claims...
Well, there's a lot of stuff off. Look all therapists, dentists, all these healthcare providers, they're like it's like a revolving door, right? We're going to talk more about this later, but these guys want you to keep going back to them. In the MGTOW community, there's a lot of these so-called counselors. They want you to keep going back to them, and they're all competing against one another.
About fairness turn into policy. They stop being opinions and start becoming laws born out of incorrect statements that are meant to shame and guilt men.
69% of the time, men are portrayed in the media in a negative light as buffoons, pedophiles, perverts. And what messages is sending to people across the United States? I mean, to men.
Classic transference.
Psychobabble.
Your anger toward me is, in fact, the animosity you feel toward your father.
They started using nutrients to help people's heads, feed your heads.
Wow, and who would have thought?
Their whole body got better because nutrients don't just feed the head. Nutrients feed the whole body.
If you had a house plant and it was kind of fading green,
like a botanist mindset, if you had a house plant and it was fading green, you would check all the nutrients.
you would think,
soil,
is there
right?
too much light?
Yeah.
Is there too little water?
Yeah.
You would look to see if there's toxicities involved or deficiencies.
Yeah.
And we all know that.
Yeah.
And so why do we lead with an expensive pharmaceutical agent when we wouldn't do that with our plant?
Yep.
We check to see the water and check to see what the light is.
I don't like that word.
A true believer.
So there you go. Do you see all these people, all these psychologists, dentists, psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors? They're always complaining about feminism and all these types of things, which is not entirely illegitimate. But anyway, we're going to talk about that. So welcome to the MeasureTheMatrix.com. We don't sell quick mindset fixes or endless therapy loops. We measure the hidden layer, the biochemical foundation that runs underneath every. It's all psychology explanation. Every relationship breakdown, every moment that feels like the system is stacked against you, there's no hype, no lifetime subscriptions to coping strategies. Just the clear data most people never look at, especially in the MGTOW realm. And like I said, today's focus is MensRights and MGTOW space on YouTube. Today, channels like Men Need to Be Heard and Dr. Todd Bottom and others like Dr. Tara Palmatier at shrinkformen.com, they do important work. They point out things like divorce laws that heavily favor one side, dating patterns where many men feel pushed to walk away, boys falling behind in a school system that seems to overlook them, double standards like a man's success is labeled as toxic while a woman's celebrated as empowerment, hypergamy, entitlement, disengagement paths. They describe real imbalances and they deserve credit, no doubt. But the analysis stays locked in one view often. Reductionist psychology. They're only talking about psychology, the behavior, trauma cycles, attachment issues, evolutionary patterns, societal conditioning, resentment buildup. It makes sense on the surface, right? Only on the surface. Yet it's like troubleshooting perfect software while the hardware is quietly failing. You're rotting inside. It's like only addressing the skin. A woman goes. A lot of healthcare is about this. Women go for beauty makeups, things like makeup, skin tanning. They only address the skin, but they don't think maybe they're rotting inside. That's why their personality is so bad. Men have the same problem. Problems keep returning. The answer is always more sessions or change your perspective. Repeat visits, more drugs, more doctor's appointments, more dentist appointments, more eye appointments because your vision gets bad. Why? Because your whole body starts to break down. Like I said, the hardware starts to break down. It's convenient for the system, but it's draining the person caught in the cycle.
Let me tell you, he's not in
Therefore,
that
what's
car
the
a
missing
long
piece?
time.
Well, this is difficult for a lot of people to digest. It was difficult for me, but functional medicine, it's called functional medicine, functional psychiatry, functional dentistry, and also called holistic, which builds directly on the foundations of orthomolecular medicine. This isn't take this herb or visit this chiropractor or wishy-washy aromatherapy. This is evidence-based, botanist-like methods that medical doctors, dentists, and others like psychologists are now being trained in. They are adopting it. But for the longest time, I thought that holistic was going to this celebrity practitioners online, and he wasn't telling you to get an individualized approach. He was trying to sell you a supplement for this set of symptoms. That's the same mindset as a medical doctor. But a lot of people don't realize a lot of these wellness influencers, many of them are being paid by big pharma to mislead you. And they're making a lot of money off this stuff. Carnivore diets, all these personalities, how do you know it's for you? You have to be individualized. These fad diets, they're good for short-term results, but often at the expense of, you see what happens to vegetarians, and a lot of these carnivore people, they get sick, they look sick. Oh, it's a big confusing thing. I was confused as well. Many patterns labeled as personality or behavior are actually tissue level nutrient imbalances in your body. Like a botanist would see tissue level imbalances in a plant, like the previous video we showed. They are measurable and correctable and often overlooked. Blood tests don't tell the full story. Blood is merely a transport mechanism. The body will pull minerals from the bones, organs, and tissues to keep levels normal, while cells in your body go without for years. Now, do you hear these MGTOW guys talking about this type of stuff here? I'll play one of these videos here. Do you actually hear these guys talking about this?
But here's the problem. We didn't see the universal celebrations.
You don't hear them talking about this.
Didn't see the same response that we did when the women did. No, what we saw in the media, and from women in particular, is an attack. How dare those men celebrate? How dare they take joy in winning? They're all showing their toxic masculinity and internalized misogyny.
Now, yeah, do they talk about these things? No, they don't. Do they talk about how blood tests don't tell the full story when you go to your medical doctor's office? Blood is merely a transport mechanism. The body will pull minerals from the bones and your teeth. Why do you think you get cavities? A major reason is your body doesn't have what it needs to regenerate, so it pulls the magnesium and calcium from your teeth and your bones. And there's many others. And organs and tissues to help keep blood levels normal while the cells go without the proper nutrients for years. Normal, I put in quotation marks, because many people don't question what their doctor tells them. And doctors are not trained in cell nutrition, and it's not merely food. That's what I used to think. I heard doctors are not trained in nutrition. I thought it just meant food. No, it's not. It's really confusing, but I'm going to explain to you. I'm not trying to make this really confusing, but by the time the blood shows a problem, the shortage has already been going on for a very long time, years or even longer. Your symptoms speak earlier and more honestly, such as irritability over small things. Many people have this. We get irritable and we need to smoke, we need a drink or a puff or something. Rigid black and white thinking. We get a lot of that, and we forget. We don't have a sense of humor anymore, and we forget about the gray and between the black and white. So we tend to snap. And people, you can see people like that all the time, especially older folks. Apathy that makes stepping back feel like the only option, right? So you just move back. You don't know if this person's insulting me. You don't know if he's trying to be funny. You just want to go away. Functional optimal levels, where mood, clarity, and resilience are strongest, are much higher than the conventional normal range, which is just the average of a population that's largely not thriving. Again, do you hear these guys talking about these things? Do you hear these guys talking about these things?
Starting with how women say men objectify women, but openly reduce men to things like height, income, the size of their you-know-what, and status in general.
Do you actually hear these guys talk about these things?
Proving that a man isn't seen, he's...
No, you don't hear these things. Like we said, functional optimal levels where mood, clarity, and resilience are strongest are much higher than the conventional normal range, what your doctor tells you merely on blood tests. because blood is a transport mechanism, like we said previously, right? Here are the few that affects men's experiences the most, explained plainly, and women's, of course. Magnesium. This is our body is made out of. Our body is actually less complex than plants. What are all the foundational elements in a plant? Very similar to us. So low tissue levels of magnesium often lead to chronic irritability, quick temper, and rigid thinking. Every small disagreement can feel like a major threat. Functional corrections calms the system quickly. The usual path, years of anger management sessions. A lot of these so-called counselors here.
But today's video is not
they will tell you that you need to go to them over and over again. Here's another one, zinc, like the metal. Shortages of zinc disrupt dopamine, the pleasure chemical in your brain. Emotional flatness, sudden anger, hopelessness that deepens disengagement, right? Studies link low zinc to higher aggression and isolation. Optimal zinc brings clearer decisions and lower reactivity. Who would have thought all these things in your body that if they're out of alignment, they're going to manifest in a symptom? I mean, that's what it is. But a lot of people know these. They see these things online, but they don't tell you where to get a personalized low-cost assessment. And I do that, but you can actually learn how to do it yourself. It's very simple. It doesn't require blood. We do use blood, but blood, like we said, it's part of the picture. Omega-3 fatty acids. These are often found in fish. Deficits of this reduce emotional regulation and empathy. Reactivity increases. Perspective narrows. Patterns often blamed on hypergamy. What is hypergamy? Okay, we'll just go over this. Hypergamy is a tendency for women. It's also evolutionary psychology for women to seek out a higher status male or a wealthier male. Do you actually blame them? The way the world is, that's what it is now. They tried to correct this. They tried to reverse nature decades ago, but it just doesn't work that way. They just make things. The politicians often make things worse. Feminism and all these types of things. So patterns often blamed on hypergamy can be amplified by biology, speaking louder than these theories. So what I'm trying to say is, many MGTOW guys blame hypergamy, like in videos like I'm showing. They often blame. They frame it as a personal failure of women. That women are just like weasels and sneaky, right? There's more to it than that. Like I said, it's amplified by biology. Vitamin D is another one. Okay, let's think about what the normal is compared, or what the doctor might he might test. It's very rarely tested. Like I said, it's not. Doctors aren't trained in nutrition. Barely above deficiency is like 31 nanograms per milliliter. It's linked to low mood, low motivation, chronic withdrawal. Low vitamin B12. The optimal is 900. I don't want to talk too much about the levels because it could be confusing, but suboptimal levels of vitamin B12 cause agitation, mental fog, depressive feelings that masquerade as personality problems. Vitamin B12, okay? This is, if you go to your health food store, you can see it. You can actually go try it. Go get a sublingual high dose and put it under your tongue and see how you feel after a few days. But that's only one of the factors, right? It's not a singular thing. A bonus of correcting many of these previous nutrients in the body is homocysteine can be lowered, and homocysteine often contributes to brain fog and mood swings, and who would have thought, cardiovascular problems. Anyway, these targeted nutrients frequently resolve issues that talk therapy only manages. It merely manages, and you don't hear these so-called therapists talking about this like Todd Bottom. I'm not putting them down, but they I understand their mindset. That's their training, and they go to school for years for this stuff, and they actually believe what they're saying. But you have to keep going back to them and buy their books.
Because when emotional claims about fairness turn into policy, they stop being opinions and start becoming laws born out of incorrect statements that are meant to shame and guilt men.
There you go. That's what they say. They keep talking about these psychological things, psychological factors. The system contrast, like the mainstream approach, right? The mainstream approach is similar to a classic conveyor belt in a factory. Goes up and down, and it gets passed on the line, right? This person puts a part on, that person puts another part on, or that machine puts a part on. The symptom, you go from symptom to label, to prescription or session, and then you go to repeat visits. Dependency is built in. The real causes, cellular shortages, toxins, genetic factors, epigenetic factors, or above genetic factors. You can influence your genes. They don't talk about that either. They say it's genetic like it's set in stone. It's not. You're not a robot. You're not a piece of wood. These are rarely checked. It's good business for the system, but you guessed it, it's exhausting for the individual like you. Functional medicine is much different. Functional dentistry is different because it's integrative. It approaches the body as an integrated unit, which it is. Think a botanist approach. A struggling plant is not scolded or chemically forced, right? They test the soil, nutrients, and the roots, adjust precisely, and the same principle. Check intracellular markers, gut-brain connection, environmental load, restore balance. Recovery without constant maintenance, right? Makes perfect sense. Relationships become less volatile, so you don't have to keep going back to people like this, right?
And borderline buzzwords and phrases.
Jealous, unable to commit, unable to express or give and receive
over and over again.
Personality disorder, mentally ill,
Mentally ill.
When they claim to be against, while they claim to be against all of these labels, which is very bizarre, right? And
Narcissist and
what can you say? And this is what I do, and practitioners like me, is recovery without constant maintenance. Relationships become less volatile, fewer blow-ups over small things, fewer character flaw explanations for biological strain. I have an anecdote here, a comical one. I actually, this is the real story. This is a real story. I emailed Dr. Tom Bottom. That's the guy in the video here. I emailed him.
But today's video is not about feelings or so-called fairness. It's about...
And I asked him, I suggested to him, we could combine psychological insights with functional medicine and functional psychology and the data for a more complete picture. And he replied, well, guess what he replied? He said, our work is not in alignment. And I was expecting that, because I've tried emailing people like this before, and they actually try to make you confused. They want you to keep going back to them. Fair enough, right? But if addressing root nutrient causes became standard, how many repeat clients quietly disappear from them? There would be fewer ongoing sessions, fewer recurring payments. The business model would notice, and the book sales would notice, because they're not getting to the root causes.
Well, I guess so.
Let's look at examples, and I'll show some clips here. Short clips from the channels, and these are usually psychological layer first, and then I'll give the functional angle. So the first clip here is from Men Need to Be Heard. He's heavily followed online.
But here's the problem.
Yeah.
We didn't see the universal celebrations after the men won. Didn't see the same response that we did when the women did.
He's talking about the Olympics. He's saying that women and men get different responses.
No, what we saw in the media, and from women in particular,
it's true,
is an attack. How dare those men celebrate? How dare they take joy in winning? They're all showing their toxic masculinity and internalized misogyny.
Yep.
Which shows the complete hypocrisy and double standard that society, feminism, and women in general have towards men on a daily basis. Because you don't get to cheer one group for confidence and shame the other for the exact same behavior.
Yep, it's true.
That's not equality, that's bias. That's conditioning.
Yep.
What it really is bigotry. But here's the problem.
Oh, yep, it's true. But okay, well, where does the bigotry come from? Where do all these things come from? Geniuses, where is the bloody solutions here? Please, somebody tell me. It's a strong point on the double standard, but with that level of frustration, right? Like low tissue magnesium can turn a small trigger into a full-blown reaction. Omega-3 fatty acids shortages reduce the ability to step back and see the complete bigger picture. It makes you react like an animal right away, right? Nutrients directly influence those circuits in your body, in your brain. a psychological only view misses more than half the picture. There you go. Did you get what I'm saying here? This is all, if you look at these MGTOW and these men's rights, and not only them, most of what you see online and most in the books is reductionist. They reduce things to component parts so they can easily study them and dissect things, but they're forgetting the whole picture. Feminism and everything else is the same thing. Here's another from men need to be heard. I love these content producers. They're great. They get a lot of viewers, but they lack precision.
Starting with how women say men objectify women.
Yes.
But openly reduce men to things like height, income, the size of their you-know-what, and status in general. Like those are the only things that matter. Thus, proving that a man isn't seen, he's measured.
Yep.
Or how about how women love to say that men are privileged, yet men work more hours doing harder jobs and make up the overwhelming majority of workplace deaths, the overwhelming majority of unalivings, and the overwhelming majority of the homeless.
He said unalivings, that means suicide.
Let me tell you, that's some privilege they got there.
Yeah,
he's saying male privilege. Look at all these negatives. Like they keep saying we have privilege. Well, oh my goodness. If they had a more integrative view, it wouldn't be so much fighting going on. Clear and accurate. It's clear and accurate on the surface, right? What he's saying. But if you add zinc and vitamin B shortages, emotional stability takes a hit. What looks like entitlement may partially be biology asking for help, which it usually is. Correct it and the pattern often eases. It's not merely mindset alone. You actually need a hardware improvement of the body and the mind. They're both the same. Here we're going to talk about Dr. Todd Bottom again with another clip, why men should pay becomes policy, right? Very, very good authors.
But today's video is not about feelings or so-called fairness. It's about who actually pays how much for our national, state, and local taxes. Because when emotional claims about fairness turn into policy, they stop being opinions and start becoming laws born out of incorrect statements that are meant to shame and guilt men.
Yeah.
So before anyone decides who should pay more, we need to be honest about who already does. But today...
Okay, this is great stuff. Well observed on and built-in expectations, right? But like I said, does he talk about these things we talk about here? If you add blood sugar instability from poor cell nutrition, irritability ramps up demands of your body and your mind. Magnesium or chromium can stabilize that. The conversation becomes possible instead of conflict. But this is all we see mostly is conflict. They don't talk about the interior of the body like a botanist would a plant, right? I try to talk about both, but these guys are just, you can see what they're clearly trying to do. You can see it, we've mentioned it before. Here's another clip, but this is with Dr. Todd Bottom and the men need to be heard in a combined video.
Going back to the early 70s, they revamped, and I argue it was legitimate. They revamped education completely, right? Girls were lagging behind, there is no question of that. But they took the pendulum that was too far one side and swung it all the way to the other, and they've never come back from that. And they knew, really, within 5 or so years of that happening, so mid-70s they started suspecting it, early 80s they knew that the boys were now suffering, right? And they talked about it, the data's been there the whole time. Having talked with educators who were principals and administrators back then, they saw it, they freely admit to me, we knew what was going on, and nobody's done anything about it.
No, there you go. So, this traces back to neglect to disengagement, clearly. It traces back neglect to disengagement, right, of specific groups, men in this case. The functional side of it is low vitamin D or zinc often shows up as aggression, hopelessness, withdrawal. This is all science, evidence-based. This has been going on for decades. Even the Chinese thousands of years ago knew about it. Gut issues can amplify anxiety and pessimistic thinking. Bad gut health, what do you think is going to happen? Constantly farting, going to the bathroom, why do you think that is?
True.
Targeted nutrients have documented effects. Leaving this out, as they do, leaves huge gaps, which they do. They don't talk about this stuff. Now we're going to talk about another clip here. It's called "The Black Pill Happens When Advocacy Stops Working." And this is with Dr. Bottom again.
I want to know if you've ever left therapy feeling like something was off, but you couldn't quite explain why. Or maybe many of you have avoided therapy altogether because of the stigma or the feel of feeling misunderstood. Listen, if you assume every therapist understands how men operate or that every approach fits your personal needs, you can lose time, money, clarity, even your dignity, and much more.
Yep.
For men presenting with general dissatisfaction, for example, therapy often treats distress as something to be managed rather than a signal to renegotiate roles, expectations, or environments.
Yeah, he's talking about symptoms presenting themselves. Then he puts a picture of his book there. Therapy Literacy for Men. So what is that going to tell you? Medicine and psychology is symptom management. Yep. Not getting to the root causes. Yep, that's what they're going to. They won't tell you that.
Buzzwords and phrases.
She won't tell you that either.
Unable to commit.
Look what she just did. She contradicted herself. What? Not getting to the root causes.
Narcissist and borderline, buzzwords and phrases.
She said narcissist and borderline, buzzwords and phrases. Now she's going to look what she does.
Unable to commit.
Yep.
Unable to express or give and receive
Yep.
love.
Sounds like she's using endless buzzwords and phrases.
Yep.
She's contradicting herself.
Personalities disordered. Mentally ill. Mentally ill.
Mentally ill.
Yep. Mentally ill. Yep. Yep.
We're going back to physiology and biochemistry.
That's what we do, yeah.
Rather than pharmacology. We assume that the body has the ability to heal itself if given half a chance, and the way that happens is by supplying the body with what it needs and trying to remove things that are toxic to it.
I want to know.
And we train you. You can train yourself with what we do. It's very transparent what we do. Oh man, this is crazy. So psych explanations are solid, but chronic low zinc or vitamin D can disrupt, you guessed it, dopamine and serotonin, deepening the fatalistic approach, the I can't do anything approach. So correcting these functionally often reduces that weight on your shoulders. Hope becomes possible again. So therefore, what are the common pushbacks that you'll hear from people? They will say, oh no, this just excuses bad behavior with biology. That's a valid concern. However, it's not excusing, it's identifying amplifiers. If you fix the underlying imbalance, and many behaviors naturally decrease, right? Makes total sense. No free pass, but it's fewer explosions. The irony here is some reject it as all trauma explanations, but dismiss nutrient factors. However, both are testable. This matters because men's rights discussions can become echo chambers of complaint without a clear way out. Like we saw in these videos.
To the early 70s,
a big echo chamber.
Going back to the early 70s,
and they repeat the same thing over and over.
And I argue it was legitimate.
It's a big echo chamber.
Education completely, right? Girls were.
Yep. It just becomes an echo chamber. Adding functional measurements turns insight into action. We test things. We aim for functional optimal, not merely normal. We correct the shortages. And so what are the side effects? You watch irritability, rigidity, and withdrawal. It fades away. You have a clearer head, less entrampments, more freedom, more real freedom, less talking about this man versus woman thing in society, the system sucks. How about fixing the system? Now, we're getting to the end here. Dr. Linus Pauling laid the groundwork for functional medicine. He coined it orthomolecular nutrition and orthomolecular medicine in the 1960s. Modern functional medicine builds directly on it. It's underutilized. It's not fringe. It's not hokey pokey. My advice is don't guess at supplements. Don't guess at what food you need to eat. Don't guess at what drinks you need to drink. Don't guess at what workplaces you need to work at. Don't guess. I am actually offering a free measurement here on my website. Go to measurethematrix.com and take the free Cell Nutritional Symptom Measure tool. Read the page, get acquainted with it. The quick questions are about your symptoms: energy dips, stress overload, digestion problems. sleep issues that may be quietly fueling every frustration we have discussed. Remember, like this stuff, always talking about men and women, always frustrated.
Legitimate. They revamped education completely, right? Girls were lagging behind. There's no question of that. But they took the pendulum that was too far one side and swung it all the way to the other, and they've never come back from that.
Yep. And let's talking about these things over and over again. You go to my website, measurethematrix.com. It's anonymous, no cost. There's an instant report sent to your email, or it's downloadable. It's your personal scan, albeit it's very basic. It reveals patterns standard labs often miss. It can lead to a personalized assessment, which I do. I charge much less, mainly because I'm starting. The others charge $500 for an introductory assessment. I charge $90, but I'll even do it for lower cost or free if you help me spread the word. Like we said, psychology helps with understanding, and you can understand your own health. You can actually download the assessment that you see on my website. You can try to interpret your own health. You can learn how to do it yourself on a regular basis. Therefore, guess what? Less repeat visits. You don't have to keep coming to see me. I don't want you to keep coming to see me, but the other guys do, because they claim to have the expert knowledge. They don't. They have it in one field, and that's it. Without the mechanical foundation, you're navigating on failing hardware, right? Problems keep returning, right? Is that true or not? Yes, it is true. The problems keep returning, right? Without the psychology helps with understanding. Without the biochemical foundation, it keeps returning, like we said. Content creators such as Men Need to Be Heard and Dr. Tom Bottom. Yes, if you're watching this, your work raises important questions. But adding the functional view may create alignment. As Dr. Tom Bottom previously said, he said, our work is not in alignment. He didn't want to have a video with me. Viewers, you're watching this, run the free tool on my website, measurethematrix.com. If you notice any changes, can you please share below? And the changes won't be immediate. It might take weeks, but there's some basic stuff that'll tell you. And there's resources like orthomolecular.org. These are science-backed. There's books like Dr. Walsh, his book Nutrient Power, and my website measurethematrix.com for the free symptom measure tool. Subscribe here for more straightforward decodes like this. Turn your notifications on. Stay measuring. You will realize the picture is deeper than most realize, and we can reduce or end all the fighting we're seeing online. All these people keep talking about women this, MGTOW that, society this, and then you see the women talking about men are bad, this is bad, this is non-productive. And like I said, Dr. Tom Bottom, you said our work is not in alignment. Please reconsider. Men Need to Be Heard and other content producers should be adopting the mindset I am, and keep it humorous as well. But anyway, have yourself a good day, and please like and subscribe.
What gets into all? We study the problem. We've been studying it for damn well near a century, yes, but we get no farther with our studies. You will become a true believer.